بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله تعالى سيدنا محمد أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه يوم الدين. نويت تعلم التعليم وتذكر التذكير في الانتفاع والإيفاد والاستفادة والحث التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم والدعاء للهدى والدلال للخير في قائم وجناه ومرضاته قربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله كل له قوة العظيم عدد كل كتب أكتب أبدا الآبدين ودهر الداهرين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وحسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العظيم. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الذل والضلال والزنا وما أظلم أو أجهل وجهل علي. اللهم أغننا بالعلم زينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية المراحم يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين. طيب, we are beginning together our first class of a series of classes as part of the I'tikaf program for this weekend in Al-Rahma. The series of classes will all be based on the same book. It's a book called Our Traits, written by a scholar in Yemen named Habib Omar bin Hafiz. It's a book that it's comprised of 4 different parts. It's comprised of a prologue. It's comprised of a chapter 1, a 2, and a 3. The prologue talks about one's perception of religion, right, and spreading it. Chapter 1 discusses one's traits with Allah, how one should have character with Allah Ta'ala, the traits we should have in our heart when dealing with our Lord, And that's what we'll be covering tonight. The prologue you guys will cover, inshallah, with Shaykh Abdul Kareem after Fajr on Saturday and Sunday. Chapter 2 discusses the traits one has, or the character traits one should have when dealing with the rest of creation, the rest of humanity. And the third chapter, the final chapter, deals with the character traits one should have when dealing with oneself, how you should be a good person to yourself, treat yourself well as well. So the prologue, okay, is one topic, which you guys will cover Shaykh Abdul Kareem. And today we're going to start chapter 1, how to be a good servant and how to deal well with Allah Ta'ala, your creator. Before we begin reading the book, we have to recognize how do we perceive our relationship with Allah Ta'ala. So Allah Ta'ala is our creator, right? We're talking about how to deal with our creator, how to have good character, so to speak, with our creator, the one who created not just us, but also every single thing in existence. And the Quran is full of ayahs talking about this. Allah Ta'ala literally described the creation of Adam alayhi salam, our ancestral father and the first prophet of God, in the book of God multiple times. So khalas, we all know he's our creator. Okay, we all know he's our creator and that he's the creator of everything in the world. Okay, he also described a scene. Allah Ta'ala in the Quran, he describes a scene that occurs between himself and all the souls of humanity. He says in the Quran, he says, وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ. In this ayah, Allah Ta'ala is saying that when your Lord took, so he's describing a scene that occurred sometime before the present. Okay? When your Lord took, he's saying your Lord took the souls of the progeny of Adam from his loins. So every single being in existence, or every single human being to ever have lived, or will ever live, okay, was at one point in time just a soul present in the loins of our ancestral forefather, right? Our forefather Adam alayhi salam. So Allah Ta'ala brought all the souls of humanity before him. Okay? Before they were born, before everything, he brought them before him. And what did he say to them? He told them, he was like, and he made them testify. Like he said to them, am I not your Lord? Okay? So he created humanity. He created Adam alayhi salam. Okay? He created the world. He created everything, the angels, the jinn, and everything. Okay? And he brings all of humanity, which will one day be sent to this world to be tested, right? He puts them in front of him and he says, am I not your Lord? Right? Did I not create you all? Did I not create everything where you live and everything you will eat and drink and use to survive? Am I not your Lord? Don't I have a right of dominion over you? Every single human being that ever lived and will ever live, whether they're, Muslim, or in this world, Muslim or not Muslim, okay, no matter what race they are, where they lived, every single human being was on that, was there present and testified, right? Testified to what? They all responded, Bala, of course. So they affirmed, every single human being affirmed that Allah Ta'ala is in fact their Lord. So at one point in time, every single soul of humanity, right, admitted that Allah Ta'ala was their Lord. It was only in this world where some people forgot, or some people stopped caring, or some people denied, and some people believed. Okay? So he says, قَالُوا بَلَا شَهِدْنَا. And the souls all responded to Allah's question, am I not your Lord? They all responded, of course, we testify that you are our Lord. Okay? قَالَ شَهِدْنَا أَن تَقُولُوا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ إِنَّا كُنْ عَنْ هَذَا غَافِلِينَ. Right? So Allah Ta'ala then says, and we're saying that the day of judgment will come, and you all say, oh, we forgot about that day. We forgot about that day. Okay? And how many of humanity, when you ask them to ask them today, right now, about this moment that happened, they would say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, right? Oh, I have no, they don't have a belief in God, or they reject Allah as their Lord, or they reject the Prophet ﷺ. They have loads of different reasons, loads of different things they'll say. The point is, our relationship with Allah Ta'ala starts with this idea that He is our creator, and we admit that. And we also admit that at one point in time, every single being on the face of this earth, okay, whether they're Muslim or not, admitted that Allah Ta'ala is also their Lord. Khalas. And what happens now is people forget, people deny, people, hide their heads in the sand, right? And some people believe. And some people believe. So now here we are in the dunya, believing in Allah Ta'ala, okay? We recognize He created us and everything else in the world itself, actually, right? We recognize that He made all of humanity testify that He is their Lord. We recognize He sent a prophet to us to guide us, okay? So now the question becomes, well, how do we, as individuals, right, have good conduct with our Lord, right? How do we live up to the mantle that is to be a servant of God, the mantle of being a servant of God? And that's what this chapter is talking about, right? That's what this chapter is essentially talking about. So he says, in this chapter, he says, your character with God. He says, we are vigilant regarding God in every situation as if we were gazing upon Him. We are vigilant regarding God in every situation as if we were gazing upon Him. Okay? That's the first sentence, right, in this chapter. That the foundation of our relationship with Allah Ta'ala is one where we are aware okay? And someone, maybe in the beginning of their employment, they'll be diligent because they know, okay, someone's watching me, the manager's watching me, the supervisor's watching me through cameras. Over time, that diligence goes away. Okay, you forget, you get used to the idea. Plus, a few days pass, something happens. Okay, you might, mess up here, mess up there, do something wrong, do something not permitted. But over time, if there are no consequences that you immediately see, okay, even when there may be long-term consequences later on, like in terms of your performance review or something, immediate consequences are not there, right? So you forget the presence of cameras. But if he were to arrive and be in front of you, It's a whole different story. Okay? Khalas. You forget the cameras and everything, there's someone in front of you who you want to be heedful of. So similarly with Allah Ta'ala, not only should we be diligent, but we should be diligent to a degree that it's as if we can see him. It's as if we can see him. And this statement stems from a hadith of Prophet ﷺ, where he was sitting with his companions one day outside of Medina. He was sitting with them and a man came out of the desert. Okay, a man came out of the desert and walked toward the group. Okay, so there's all the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, or some of the companions with him, and the man just comes out of nowhere from the desert. Okay, and so then Umar, who's narrating the hadith, he says that this man came to us and he was wearing white, like crisp white clothes. Okay, jet black, shiny, clean hair. Okay, so the desert, I mean, anyone who's been to the desert will tell you if you just, take a 5-minute stroll, you're covered in dust. Okay. But this man comes out of the desert, clean, clothes are pressed, hair is neat. Okay. He's looking pristine. And that right there is a reason to raise your eyebrow. Okay. So this man comes out of nowhere and no one in the group knows him. Who is this guy? Wallahu alam. He comes, he sits right in front of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay. He comes and he sits right in front of the Prophet ﷺ. All right. And not just sits in front of him, he sits in front of him such that their knees are touching. So imagine two people are sitting, cross-legged or something, and their knees are touching, they're sitting so close. And this proximity in sitting is an indication of what? Indication of a previous relationship. Okay, like it's quite bold of someone to sit like that in front of the Prophet of God. Okay. It's quite bold, but no, this indicates there's a previous relationship. So now Sayyidina Umar, who's narrating the hadith, is extremely confused. This guy comes out of nowhere, okay, and he's sitting like that with the Prophet ﷺ. I don't know who he is, and I'm like one of the Prophet ﷺ's best, closest companions. All right, so he's sitting here watching the scene unfold, and the man turns to the Prophet ﷺ, where he's sitting in front of him, and he asks him, "Ya Muhammad, akhbirni an al-Islam." He said, "Oh Muhammad, tell me about Islam." All right, and he says, "Islam." The Prophet ﷺ replies, he says, "Islam is to testify there is one God except Allah Ta'ala and that Muhammad is a messenger, to pray, to fast, to give zakah, to make hajj if you can, the 5 pillars. Islam is the 5 pillars." He explains it. And the man says, "Sadaqt." He says, "You've spoken the truth. You are correct." Okay. Now Sayyidina Umar is getting more confused. Okay. He asked a question and then he's telling him he's right. Bizarre. Okay. He asks a second question now. The same individual asks a second question. He says, "Ya Muhammad, akhbirni an al-Iman." Oh Muhammad, tell me about belief, about Iman. And the Prophet says to believe in Allah Ta'ala, to believe in His angels, in His messengers, in His books, all right? In the Day of Judgment, and that all of destiny and the divine decree is from Allah Ta'ala, whether it's good or bad. And again, the man says, "Sadaqt, you are correct." All right? And Sayyidina Umar continues to be at a loss for words. The man then says, he asks the third question. He says, "Ya Muhammad, akhbirni an al-ihsan." He says, and then the Prophet says, he asked, "Oh Muhammad, tell me about ihsan," or tell me about, you can say, like spiritually perfecting your religion. Okay? What is that? And the Prophet says, is to worship Allah as if you can see Him. Or at minimum, you know that He's seeing you. And the man says, "You've spoken the truth." Okay? And then he finishes with the one final question. He says, "Tell me about the hour, or when the hour is going to come, when the Day of Judgment is going to come, when the whole world's going to end." And the Prophet says that, the person being asked, there was no more than one asking. And then he says, "Okay, tell me some of its signs." And then the Prophet says, okay, for example, he says the Bedouin shepherds that are barefoot and poor will compete in building tall buildings, and that a woman will give birth to her own mistress. Okay? And he said, and then the man just walks away and leaves. And the Prophet turns to Sayyidina Umar and he says, "Oh Umar, do you know who that man was?" Sayyidina Umar is just taken aback by the whole scene. The series of events that has left him speechless. And he says, Allah and His Messenger know best. And the Messenger of God he says, "That was Jibreel alayhi salam, the angel. He just came to teach you your religion." So you can see an integral part of the faith is spiritual perfection, which is to what? To worship as if you can see God. Meaning what? Meaning you worship, okay, Allah Ta'ala in a beautiful fashion, in a perfect fashion, as if you can, as if he were, as if you can bring to mind that he is present there observing you. Okay? Just like how, for example, right, someone will work differently under their manager's direct supervision versus if their manager was not there. Or a child will behave differently under the direct supervision of their parent versus if their parent was not there. So similarly, you worship God in a perfect manner as if you can see him. Or at minimum, you realize that he can see you. So this is an essential component of our religion, this understanding of spiritual perfection. And that is, right, the first sentence of the chapter where we start our relationship with God. Okay? To recognize, yes, he is our creator. Yes, we've all admitted that he's our creator. Yes, he is all knowing and all seeing and all hearing of everything at all times. Beyond all of that, okay, we should not only be vigilant and aware of all that in all of our moments, but we should do so in a way as if we can see him. The utmost perfection in being present with your Lord at all times and places. So he says we are vigilant regarding God in every situation, as if we were gazing upon him. We show sincerity and loyalty to him both in what is openly manifest and that which remains hidden. Okay, so now he says now in the second sentence, he says that we should be loyal to God in all aspects of our lives. Things that are public and things that are private. Things that people can perceive, things that people cannot perceive. Okay? So, for example, okay, we all have actions we perform. People can observe them, whether you're at home or at school or at the masjid or work or wherever you are, your actions are observable. In that sense, with your actions, you should be, all of us should be, tamam, completely loyal and sincere with Allah Ta'ala. Okay, sincere meaning everything we do should be for the sake of pleasing our Lord. Loyal in the sense that everything that we do should be in line with what he has taught us through the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Sometimes someone, okay, can be sincere, they want to please their Lord, but their actions are not in line with the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. This is a form of imperfection. Or the opposite can occur. Someone's actions can be in line with the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and in line with what Allah Ta'ala wants, but they're not sincere. They're doing it for an ulterior reason. Okay, they want to impress someone, or they want to gain something worldly. Okay, also a form of imperfection. But to be perfect is to combine the two. Be sincere while being loyal to your Lord. Be sincere in following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in all states, in all times, in all places. So he says we show sincerity and loyalty to him, both in what is openly manifest and that which remains hidden. That which remains hidden. What does he mean by that which remains hidden? He means our thoughts. He means things that no one else can know. Our innermost thoughts, our innermost, our internal dialogue, our feelings, right? Your heart, the things that happen in your heart. Even in those things, we should strive to be sincere and loyal to Allah Ta'ala. Sincere and loyal to Allah Ta'ala. Even though we might not be held accountable for those thoughts. Okay? Someone can have a bad thought, not act upon it, and they won't be sinful. Okay? But to take it a step further than that, to reject the thoughts as soon as it comes into your heart. Okay? To make your heart also an embodiment of sincerity and loyalty with Allah Ta'ala is something that is also from the prophetic tradition. And that is something that it's a loftier level or a higher state of perfection in one's spirituality, to make sure one's heart is also in line with the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. And ultimately, it is a sign of completion of one's faith. The Prophet ﷺ said that. He said in a hadith, he said that none of you believe until your hearts or your innermost thoughts, okay, are in line with what I've come with. What does he mean by that? Is he saying that none of us are believers until that happens? Like we're all now with like kufar or something? No, he means that none of you believe completely. Like in your iman, your belief is in a state of imperfection. and it'll become perfect once your innermost thoughts, those deep down your, the thoughts deep down in your heart that lead you to have, lead you to action, lead you to move and do something, until those very thoughts become in line with what the Sunnah of Prophet ﷺ wants. When that occurs, one's iman has reached a level of perfection. Has reached a level of perfection. So the author, he began with these two sentences. He began with these two sentences. We are vigilant regarding God in every situation, as if we were gazing upon Him. We show sincerity and loyalty to Him, both in what is openly manifest and that which remains hidden. So now, in the way he composed this chapter, okay, these two sentences, even though they're short, right, are very profound. And they lay the groundwork, okay, for how, like, our emotional relationship, you can say, with our Lord, how we should feel towards Him, how should we perceive ourselves as servants, okay? And then he's going to move on after this to talk about specific things you can do, okay, in your daily life, all right, to have a better relationship with your Lord. And we will cover that tomorrow night, inshallah ta'ala. So we will stop there, and we end with the Fatiha that Allah ta'ala gives us tawfiq, seek beneficial knowledge, and to act upon, and He accepts that from us, and that He also gives us tawfiq to spread it all over the world, that He makes the Prophet happy with us, that He rewards all of our teachers, our parents, all those that have rights upon us, that He accepts all of our fasts and our worship in the blessed month, that He makes this month one of complete emancipation from the fire for all of us, that He guides all of us to the Sunnah of Prophet ﷺ, guides our family members who are not Muslim to Islam, guides our family members who will be heedless to the Sunnah of Prophet ﷺ as well. We ask that for ourselves, for everyone else who is in attendance, who is listening, and all those who have yet to be born from our loins. With Hadrat Nabi. So there's a schedule, there's a short break, and then Ustad Muhammad Sulaiman is going to come in a few minutes, inshallah, to teach the second class of the night, inshallah ta'ala. That's what you have to pay. I know it's better to set the break before this piece.